interrupting this program to issue a special bulletin. Nuclear explosions have occurred in a number of places abroad, including Britain. Radioactive fallout is expected to reach the east coast of Ireland.
Well, it hasn't happened, and let's hope it never will happen. But since the Russian invasion of Afghanistan and the resultant military posturing by the United States, there's no doubt that the international temperature has shot up, and there's increasing concern about civil defence, because the general public, for the first time in 15 years, are being reminded about the very real danger of a nuclear holocaust. The concern about civil defence is because in the past 20 years or so, very little has been done to keep pace with what might be called the development of nuclear technology, and perhaps we've become complacent. There's been a debate in the British House of Commons. Newspaper articles both here and in Britain have highlighted the problem. And on March the 30th in this country, there will be a civil defence exercise which will check their capability in the event of a nuclear alert. Well, should the unthinkable happen, should there be a nuclear disaster, I would certainly be safe here with a radioactive cloud over my head, because I'm underground in a nuclear fallout shelter, which is designed and manufactured by a small engineering company in Baybush in Straffan, County Kildare. It's designed to house a family of up to 8 people, and there's the possibility of storing enough food for those people for up to 30 days, by which time the radioactivity should have decayed to a safe level. Pat, how much does a shelter like this cost?
Well, a shelter like this will cost in the region of £3,000.
What do you get for your money?
For your money now, you'll get a Geiger counter. It's fitted out the way it is here. A Geiger counter, a fire extinguisher, and a filter system.
Now, what does the filter system do?
The filter system incorporates a bacteriological filter, which removes bacteria and viruses from the air coming in. It also incorporates a carbon filter, which removes toxic gases, etc. And it's a preliminary filter which removes the fallout dust itself.
So you're saying that this could also be used for chemical or biological warfare?
Yes, it can be used for chemical or biological warfare or accident. Let's say what we're designing it for is for, let's say, to be within a 50-mile radius of a nuclear power station. You could have one in your house if there's an accident, you can go into it within 4 minutes.
Yeah. The radiation protection, though, in addition to just keeping out the dust, what about radiation from above that might be lying on the ground, or gas-borne radiation? How do you protect from that?
Well, this shelter is buried 3 feet below the ground. So you have a protection layer of 3 feet of clay above the shelter itself. And that's supposed to be ample protection for radiation levels.
Now, I see that the air filtration place and the entrance there are in fact above ground. They're going to be poking up above the ground.
Yes.
Is there not a danger that radiation comes in that way?
No, there's a special hatch designed for those, which is a neutron hatch, which keeps out the radiation and blocks it off and transforms it into, like, the neutrons come in and they're transformed with the special neutron hatch into gamma radiation, which are then absorbed with a lead sheet which is placed underneath.
Right. Now, if I am confined here for 30 days, as you suggest, what kind of mod cons have you built in to make my stay more comfortable?
Well, to make your stay more comfortable, we have the ionization unit.
What does that do?
An ionization unit controls the balance of positive and negative ions in the atmosphere. And due to its metal box container which you're in, it absorbs the negative ions. So therefore the ionizer generates negative ions and maintains an equilibrium in the atmosphere of ions.
And what's that to do? Is that to help your health or your mentality, or what?
It reduces anxiety levels, number one, and it also creates alertness, mental alertness. It's used in cockpits of airplanes, and it was used in the space flight, the moon manned modules.
To keep the lads calm.
Yeah, to keep them calm.
Now, food. Where I don't see any storage facilities for food. Where do you put it?
The tin food would go underneath the floor. There's a compartment underneath each bay here, and the boards can be taken up and the tin food stored underneath it. Other food can be stored in one of the compartments, like there's ample room for 5 to 8 people here, and storage space for food. For a toilet we have a chemical loo, which converts the human waste into an acceptable odour. It puts an acceptable odour on it, and you can remove it from here and store it in a large container which we're placing in the unit. So therefore you'd have enough storage facility for toilets for 8 people for about 30 days.
It seems a very small area, 14 by 7 I think.
14 by 7, yes.
To keep 8 people in. How do you...
Well, it's for a family of 8 people. I don't think a family of 8 people, like 8 adults well, it would lead a larger area. It's for a family of 8 people. Maximum 5 adults will be taken in it.
Right. How are they expected to sleep? There's no sleeping accommodation or anything
Sleeping
like that here at the
accommodation
moment?
can be built in. That's extra, or you can bring sleeping bags, etc.
So what you are doing is you're charging £3,000 for all the facilities you've outlined. Any luxuries apart from that you have to pay extra for or supply
Yes, for the
yourself.
£3,000 you're getting a system which will protect you from biological, chemical and nuclear warfare or accident at a nuclear plant.
To me, to my untutored eye, it looks very much like a steel box welded together. What's so special about the actual structure of the thing that makes it better than something a man could hammer up in his backyard?
Well, Pat, I can tell you there's definitely a lot more than a steel box. It's designed to withstand a nuclear blast of 20 megatons, which is a rather sizable nuclear blast, at a distance of 2.5 miles.
Professor Ian Macaulay of Trinity College has been quoted recently as saying that fallout shelters as such are a bit of a waste of time, that a normal house could do the job just as well, and an air filtration system involving a wet blanket would do the job. So why do you need all the sophisticated gear you have?
Well, Professor Macaulay may have said that, I cannot really be sure of that, but he also said in last Sunday's paper that if a nuclear bomb fell in Dublin, that a few thousand people would survive here in Ireland. And now what's going to happen to the rest, the other million?
A nuclear war is in progress. Ireland hopes to avoid direct attack, but cannot avoid the delayed effect of radioactive fallout. The great cloud of a nuclear explosion is carried along by the wind, and as it goes, it drops radioactive dust onto the ground below. This dust emits rays which cannot be seen or felt, but which are a danger to life, even many hundreds of miles from the site of the explosion. Ordinary dwelling houses can give protection against these rays, making all the difference between life and death. Each householder must select a suitable refuge room in his own house and add extra protection by placing heavy materials at windows, on the floor above, and other weak points. Fallout is a short-lived hazard, and people need not stay in refuge for more than about 2 days. Civil Defence, with its nationwide network, will give every assistance to the public in their efforts to lessen the effects of fallout radiation. In every Irish home, there should be a copy of Bos Baha. Everyone should read this publication thoroughly and keep it carefully. Follow its instructions and you will stay alive.